In addition to assessing students' individual academic skills, it is important to assess the academic environment. Data gathered through interviews, rating scales, and by reviewing students' permanent products of their work can help inform assessment and intervention planning. The main objective of assessing the academic environment is to determine the degree to which the academic ecology is contributing to the observed problem. We want to get a sense of what factors in the environment may be contributing to the problem behaviors or lack of academic skill development. Here are some variables linked to students' academic performance. First, academic engaged time. This refers to the amount of time students are actively responding or doing academic work. Obviously, the more opportunities to respond and the more students are engaged in academic tasks, the more they will learn. Next is the instructional presentation, and this refers to the organization, the quality of academic instruction received in the classroom. Next are contingencies for performance. It is important that students access feedback for inaccurate responses and also positive contingencies for accurate responding. Next is the classroom structure. Simply the organization of the classroom, how the students are seated, how the rules are presented, what is posted around the room. All of those consist of variables that will affect student performance. Also are the teacher's methods of planning and evaluation. So what kind of data does the teacher collect regularly on student progress, and how does the teacher then use those data sources to inform or modify instruction in the classroom? Those key variables linked to performance just discussed, including academic engaged time, instructional presentation, contingencies for performance, organization of the classroom, and teacher methods for planning and evaluation, can be assessed through teacher interviews and rating scales, direct observations, interviews with students, and permanent product reviews. These sources of evidence can help paint a picture of why a skills deficit may be occurring and the context in which it is taking place. Rating scales, interviews, and permanent products can be used throughout the problem-solving process. During problem identification, interviews are used to first get an overall idea of what the problem is. This is then backed up with data that may be collected from rating scales and through a review of permanent products of the student's work in the classroom. In problem analysis, the team gets together to determine why the problem is occurring. Data collected through interviews, which include discussions with teachers and other important stakeholders, can be an important part at this stage. In addition, data from rating scales may also help inform the problem analysis. Next, during intervention development, interviews are critical for determining what interventions may be appropriate to meet the student's needs and also may be appropriate for the person who's going to be responsible for delivering the intervention. If a teacher is going to be responsible for delivering the intervention, we want to make sure that they're comfortable with the plan and they have the skills to deliver it with adherence. Finally, in the plan evaluation stage, again, we would look to interviews to see teacher and other stakeholders' perceptions of how the intervention is going and if it is effective and meeting everyone's needs. Also, rating scales and permanent products can show evidence that the student's skills are improving. Teacher interviews are a great source of information regarding the specifics of the problem behavior, learning about the antecedents and consequences, learning about classroom management and rules, and the curriculum and instruction that are provided in the classroom. All this information can be used for making a plan for data collection, including selecting target variables and how they will be measured. Teacher interviews are also helpful for generating hypotheses as to why problem behaviors are occurring, to get ideas from teachers around intervention possibilities, and to get feedback from the teacher after interventions are implemented about how implementation is going and their satisfaction with student behavior and academic performance. When appropriate, interviews with students can also provide information that's helpful in problem solving. Students can provide information about how they understand what's going on in the classroom, if the expectations and rules for behavior are clear, if what parts of instruction may be confusing, if they feel they're given enough time to work and enough help with their assignments as well. Also, student interviews can be helpful after direct observation to get their perceptions of what was going on in the classroom, and that will relate to what the observer sees as well. And finally, student interviews can be really important for identifying possible reinforcers that may become part of intervention plans. Some strengths to the use of interviews are that they provide a first-hand account from the person who has seen the behavior most often about what is happening. They also leave room for perceptions and interpretations of what's going on. And they may set the stage for systematic observation, saving some time. So through a teacher interview, if I find out that the student is talking out too often or that they're not completing their assignments, when I go into the classroom I can look specifically for those behaviors and really focus my attention. Unfortunately, some limitations of interviews are associated with the unreliability often associated with verbal reports. So we know that verbal behavior is not always consistent with what's actually occurring, and it does not necessarily control for any bias. So people are motivated and reinforced by a variety of factors, and these may play into the type of information that you get through an interview. Rating scales can provide another source of information in problem solving. However, you have to be careful to pick well-designed rating scales with sound psychometric properties. There are many rating scales out in the market that will assess every behavior that you can think of, but you want to make sure that the ones that you select to use will provide you with data that can really be used with confidence to make decisions. Ratings on rating scales involve evaluative judgments based on rater standards for behavior. So often raters are asked to rate behaviors on a scale of frequent, often, never, and those judgments are going to be based on their own views. Ratings are affected by environmental factors as well, and responses are often based on accumulated perceptions and observations of an individual. So even though a rating scale may say for the person completing it to document how often the individual has displayed the problem behavior in the past week or 2 weeks, there's no controlling if you've been involved or exposed to this individual for a long period of time, that your entire history is going to play into how you evaluate those behaviors. There are two large categories of rating scales. They can be understood as either being a broadband measure or a narrowband measure. A broadband measure assesses a wide range of behaviors, and two commonly used broadband rating scales are the Child Behavior Checklist and the Behavior Assessment System for Children. And strengths of these rating scales are that they can be completed by multiple raters, so you may have a teacher, a parent, and the student themselves complete the rating scale. And these will measure behaviors like social skills, attention, as well as academic performance skills. Narrowband measures target a narrow range of behaviors specific to areas of concern. So an academic performance rating scale, which is included in your Shapiro text, looks just at academic performance. The Conners rating scales are looking at attention, inattentive behaviors, impulsivity, hyperactivity, behaviors consistent with a diagnosis of ADHD. The social skills rating system, again, is going to look at social skills, and the Vineland is a measure of adaptive behaviors, and this scale is often used for diagnosing mental retardation. Like the broadband measures, these narrowband measures often have forms, so you can have multiple raters document their perceptions of the students' behaviors, which does help establish the reliability and kind of validity of the data set that you generate by using these rating scales and improving the confidence you can have in the data. A potential benefit to using rating scales is that they may provide information that you didn't capture during an interview, either because the person being interviewed wasn't comfortable disclosing information, or maybe just through the dynamics of the interview, this information didn't come to light. So the rating scales may provide another systematic way of garnering some of this information. There is some debate as to, whether the rating scales are really necessary if you are an effective and skilled interviewer. So you could probably get most of the information on a rating scale if you were careful through the interview. For that reason, sometimes the rating scales are viewed as redundant. In addition, there may be bias associated with the individual's ratings. Again, just like with an interview, there are a variety of things that may play into why a person reports the behaviors that they do. It should be noted that many of the rating scales that are available are really rather lengthy. So if you're choosing to use a rating scale, you would want to make sure that it is going to provide you new, different information that you couldn't get through the interview, and it'll be worth everyone's time. You don't want to waste time collecting data that isn't going to be useful, or that may even aggravate people involved in your process. This quarter, we're going to review a variety of formal standardized assessment tools for evaluating students' academic performance. However, you cannot ignore what happens during regular classroom instruction and the type of work children produce in the regular classroom environment. So permanent product data are very helpful for providing examples of what the students actually doing in the day-to-day in the classroom and in their homework as well. It provides information about the strengths and weaknesses, and it also can help confirm that your assessment is appropriately matched with the instruction that's going on in the classroom.